30 years before 1980, in 1950, the budget expenditure was 0.7 billion, less than a billion. So with a 3% inflation rate, the expenditure would have grown to 1.7 billion in 1980, when the actual was 21 billion. $19 billion higher. And over this 30-year period, the budget increased a factor of 30 times, which represents an annual growth rate of 12%. So the growth rate over the 30 years from 1980 to 2010 which was 6.2%, it was one half the rate of growth from 1950 to 1980. So if we use this 0.7 billion budget expenditure in 1950 as the baseline and calculate growth just due to inflation, the budget expenditure in 1980 would have been 1.7 billion, not the actual 21 as I stated. And it would have been around 4 billion in 2010 instead of the projected 100. So do you see how out of control the growth of government's been here in California? It's been stupendous. And now you may still be thinking that the population growth caused this stupendous growth in government spending. So let's take a look at that. Now here's another graph for your enlightenment. It shows the state expenditures per capita, that's per person. This normalizes out the effect of population growth. And you can note that the budget expenditures peaked at $3,600 per resident in 2008. So if there were 2 people in your household, that means the state spent $7,200 on your household. That's 2 times $3,600. Did you see that money? Did you happen to notice $7,200 coming into your household? Actually, it's worse. Because when the federal funds are included, the state is spending $5,500 per person, or $11,000 per 2-person household. So if you didn't see the $7,200, you surely didn't see the $11,000, did you? Where did the money go? Good question. I don't know. I'm not going to address that. I just know it went somewhere. Okay, so this plot just shows the growth in spending per person. It doesn't show how that growth was influenced by population growth. We have to do a little math to figure that out. And I've done that as just I did for the budget expenditures. Here are the facts. In 1980, the budget expenditure per person was $903. And it peaked at the $3,600 in 2008. And it's projected to be just a little over $3,000 in 2010. So at the peak, this is a factor of 4 growth from 900 to 3,600 between 1980 and 2010, the factor of 4. And that represents an annual growth rate per person of 4.73%, which exceeds the historical inflation rate of 3%. Now, had the per person expenditure increased at the rate of inflation, then in 2010 it would be, in 2008 it would be almost $2,200. Not the $3,600 that they actually had. So, and even a more amazing fact is that the per person expenditure in 1950 was $65 per person. Unheard of. At the rate of inflation, just take that, apply the rate of inflation to it, and you can calculate after 30 years the expenditure would have risen from $65 to $158 per person, not the little over $900 that was the actual. And the per person expenditure then in 2010 would have been $384 per person, not the projected $3,100 plus. So clearly, government spending is more than significantly out of control. It's time to take control. Actually, it's 30 years past time to take control. And that's what the California Freedom from Slavery Act is intended to do. So it begins the process of taking control by freeing California residents age 55 and up from the slavery produced by uncontrolled and never-ending taxation. So that's how I spell relief. How about you? Okay, let's wrap this up. Click on the Part 4 video. We'll do that.